And now it's time for bedtime stories with Sleepy Lucas.
Tonight's bedtime story is The Princess and the Pee-Pee.
Prince.
What, I can't be a princess?
No, just started from the top.
Tonight's bedtime story is The Prince and the Pee-Pee. Once upon a time, in the outskirts of Camden, lived a prince named Lucas, who was also known to the commoners as Precious Prince Prettyboy III. He wore the fanciest, puffiest pantaloons and ruffly shirts, and his dumb, skinny hat always had the freshest of pheasant feathers in it. He was one of 3 precious princes, all named Prettyboy, but became the sole heir to the kingdom when his elder siblings died from a horrible docking incident. Precious Prince Prettyboy spent many a 4th year trying to find a bride to wed, but to no avail. He would invite all sorts of supposed princesses to his manor for many a dinner, but none were good enough for his old wretched cunt of a mother. One time, this one bitch had the worst of table manners. At his stately family dinner table, she just vomited every time she took a bite of food, even though it gave Precious Prince Prettyboy III an uncontrollable erection that would last nearly 3 months. His mother did not approve whatsoever. The fake princess died later that week of some sort of fake illness called the bubonic plague. One of the other cunts was also a real well of a heifer. She ate all the food on the table, then started eating off Precious Prince Prettyboy III's plate, and then his mother's. When that food ran out, she had food jammed in her cut that she fished right out in front of them and ate. There were 12 apples, 3 Cornish hens, and about 85 sardines. Then one time, this really ugly bitch showed up. She had open sores all over her face and hands, and reeked of unwashed belly button. The prince tried to overlook this and kiss her, but instead he just projectile vomited into her mouth. Then finally, one stormy night, a girl claiming to be the princess came to the door of his manor, soaking wet, saying she was too far from home, and begged if she could stay the night. Precious Prince Prettyboy III was so attracted to this one, and he really wanted to marry her, even though she didn't express any interest in him whatsoever. He didn't give a shit. He was Precious Prince Prettyboy III. He racked his inbred brain for a true test to see if this handsome, hairy woman was truly a princess when it finally struck him. He told the wet bitch to wait in the parlor as he went in the guest quarters to prepare her bed. He piled 20 mattresses on top of each other because all lords had at least 20 to 30 mattresses available at any time in those days, and underneath them he put his most prized possession, his late father's mummified pee-pee. He figured if this cunt was truly a princess, she could never sleep with something so rigid under all those mattresses. She would be too uncomfortable. He went back out to the parlor and said, "Sleep in there, my lady." The next morning, Precious Prince Prettyboy III awoke with such excitement. As he pranced to the ladies' sleeping quarters, he heard a whole bunch of shit going on, and he was sure that the princess of his dreams couldn't sleep when he heard all that racket. He swung open the door and found that the princess was fucking her butthole with his dead dad's dick, and that the princess had a pee-pee bigger than his, and the mummified pecker put together and he absolutely loved it. He got on one knee and proposed to the princess, who accepted. He then asked her name and found out it was Petunia Gentle. Precious Prince Prettyboy III and Petunia were wed later that morning and lived happily ever after, until a few weeks later when Precious Prince Prettyboy III died from a gnarly infection in his mouth from eating Petunia's unwashed anus. The end.